As I got to the end of the break, the historian William walked past the one staircase leading to the other library, followed by Missandei and Daenerys. After they get into the genealogical hall of records, William takes a seat, as Missandei also takes a seat, and the historian and Daenerys then prepare to continue on with the lesson of Daenerys' past life prior to her being risen from the dead.
Well, William, as we continue on, you are going to learn now where Daenerys risen from that of Khaleesi to the Queen of Meereen.
You mean she's not a queen now? Or at least wasn't then?
No, not exactly. The Dothraki has strange ways and beliefs. When a cow dies, she normally would be put into a temple where all Khaleesi's are held for the remainder of their days. So, to one extent, she was no longer a queen, which is what Khaleesi translates to. But then again, being the mother of dragons, she was allowed to keep her title because she came to Meereen, having broken the chains and freed those who were enslaved, as a Khaleesi. So therefore, she became known as the Breaker of Chains. And because dragons were born with her when she tried to uh, go end her life in flames in the funeral pyre of Cal and did not die, she became known as the Unburnt, as well as Mother Dragons. And now she is the Great Khaleesi. And the people thought of her as a hero, which you're going to soon learn about, and translates to mother from the word Misa. But she also becomes the Queen of Meereen.
I see. Wow. As I said, that's many titles. Yes, William. I have been known by many names, but this, I take it you are not disturbed by this. Well, no, I'm only a human. I can't understand such things. In my world, usually one person only had one title. But I am happy that you chose me as your suitor before I asked you by human custom to marry me. Yes, well, I think this is a good time for you to learn about my past life and how I got to be the Queen of Meereen then. Well, I'm ready to begin my lesson then.
Very well, then, William. Let us begin.
And so, with that, he opens the book with the three clasps so that they continue on of Daenerys' past life. This is the original Game of Thrones series, Season 4, Episode 1, where Daenerys rises from Khaleesi to the Queen of Meereen. 」 . 」 「」 「」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « Episode 1, Two Swords. Tywin oversees the reforging of Ice, the Stark ancestral sword, and the two new swords, one for Jaime, who tries to deal with the loss of his sword hand and Cersei's love, and one for King Joffrey as a wedding present. Prince Oberyn Martell, on behalf of his brother Prince Doran of Dorne, arrives in King's Landing with his paramour, Ellaria Sam, to attend the royal wedding, and is welcomed by Tyrion. Oberyn openly reveals to Tyrion his motive for his visit: revenge against the Lannisters for the rape and murder of his sister Elia, wife of Prince Rhaegar. In the north, while Styr and his group of cannibal Thenns reinforce Tormund, Ygritte, and the other wildlings, Jon is released by Maester Aemon after confessing what he did during his time with the wildlings to gain information. In the Riverlands, Arya and the Hound reclaim her sword, Needle, from Polymer, killing him and his men. In Essos, Daenerys leads her army on a march towards Meereen, the last of the three great slave cities, though she is troubled by how her dragons are becoming less tame as they grow. Episode 2, The Lion and the Rose. Bruce Bolton returns to the Dreadfort, where he blames Ramsay for mistreating Theon, who has been brutalized into a subservient persona called Reek. The former decides to find and kill the remaining Stark children, Bran and Rickon, who threaten the legitimacy of his new title, while tasking Ramsay to reclaim the territories under Ironborn occupation. In Dragonstone, Melisandre orders several people to be burned as a tribute to the Lord of Light, to the delight of Queen Selyse and the disgust of Davos and Shireen. In King's Landing, Tyrion ends up his relationship with Shae to protect her from his family and has her shipped off to Pentos. Jaime begins training his left-handed swordplay with the help of Bronn. King Joffrey and Margaery Tyrell are wed. Later at the royal wedding feast, tensions between Joffrey and Tyrion grow, just before the former succumbs to poisoned wine and dies. Grief-stricken Cersei accuses Tyrion of the murder and has him arrested, while Ser Dontos, a former knight, advises Sansa to leave with him in order to survive. Episode 3, Breaker of Chains. Tywin begins grooming Tommen to be the next king and enlists Oberyn and Mace Tyrell as his fellow judges for the impending trial of Tyrion, who decides to pick Jaime as his witness. Littlefinger, who hired Ser Dontos, kills him and smuggles Sansa out of King's Landing. In the Riverlands, Arya and Sandor encounter a benevolent farmer and his daughter, whom Sandor robs, to Arya's disgust. In Dragonstone, Davos tries to figure out how to replenish Stannis' depleted forces and requests a loan from the Iron Bank of Bravos to pay for a group of mercenaries called the Golden Gun. In the north, Sam, fearing for Gilly's safety, has her and the baby moved out of Castle Black to nearby Molestown. Meanwhile, the wildlings continue to raid northern villages. The Night's Watch received word that the band of Night's Watch mutineers has set up camp at Craster's Keep. Jon tells the Watch to organize a party to attack the mutineers, and they cannot risk having any information about the weakness of Castle Black's defenses leaked to Man's raiders' approaching army. Daenerys lays siege to Meereen. Episode 4, Oathkeeper. Daenerys successfully captures Meereen amidst a slave revolt
and immediately seeks justice for the slain slave children by nailing 163 masters to posts. Actually, they're more like crucifixes. At sea, Littlefinger admits to Sansa that he was involved in Joffrey's death. King's Landing, Olenna, who is planning to leave, also implies to Marjorie that she was involved in the poisoning and convinced her to seduce Tommen before Cersei has a chance to turn him against her. Jaime meets with Tyrion and is convinced of his innocence. However, Cersei is adamant about Tyrion's guilt and orders Jaime to hunt down and kill Sansa. Jaime instead tasks Brienne with finding and protecting her, giving her both his Valyrian sword and Podrick as her squire. In the north, in an effort to get rid of Jon, Alistair Thorne and General Slynn conspired to allow Jon to lead an expedition against the Mutineers, who have captured Bran's party, forced him to reveal his identity. Further north, a White Walker takes Craster's last newborn son to a secret ritual site where he is transformed into a walker. Episode 5, First of his name. Tommen is crowned king. Cersei meets with Marjorie, Tywin, and Oberyn, hoping to sway them to her advantage in the coming trial against Tyrion. The Vale, Littlefinger takes Sansa to the Eyrie, where she is deposed as his niece. He is then pressured to marry Lisa Arryn that same day. It is revealed that the pair killed Jon Arryn while blaming the Lannisters. On the King's Road, the Hound catches Arya practicing her water dancing and angers her by mocking their fighting style and serial morale. On the road, Brienne finds out that Podrick has no practical skill as a squire. However, she is impressed with the fact that he killed a King's Guard in order to protect Tyrion. Beyond the wall, Jon's group attacks the Mutineers. Locke attempts to kidnap Bran in the confusion, but is killed by Hodor, or into by Bran. Bran and his company then continue their trek north, while Jon's party kills all of the Mutineers and burns down Craster's keep. In Marine, after Jorah informs her about the fallback to slavery of Astapor and Yunkai, Daenerys decides to postpone her invasion of Westeros to bring order to Slavery's Bay and pronounces herself queen. Episode 6, The Laws of Gods and Men. In Essos, Davos manages to convince the Iron Bank to back Stannis, while also recruiting Salazar, San, and his pirates to Stannis' cause. In Marine, Daenerys attempts to take on her new role as queen as she listens to the requests of her subjects, including nobleman Hizdar Barak, and a man whose goats were killed by Daenerys' increasingly uncontrollable dragons. In the Dreadfort, Yara leads an attack in an effort to rescue Theon, who refuses to come with her, forcing her to escape. Ramsay rewards Theon for being obedient, and in order to take Kaelin, tells him to pretend to be Theon instead of Reek. On King's Landing, Tywin puts a bounty on the Hound's head and instructs Varys to keep spying on Daenerys. Later that day, Tyrion is brought to trial for Joffrey's murder. However, all of the witnesses brought in testify against him, including Sir Meryn Trent, Grand Maester Tyrell, Queen Regent Cersei, Lord Varys, and Tyrion's Shaw, Shay, who gives us all a testimony. Angry humiliated, and defeated. Tyrion demands a trial by combat. Episode 7, Mockingbird. Cersei appoints Gregor Clegane as her champion in the upcoming trial by combat, while both Jaime and Bronn refuse to fight for Tyrion. Oberyn steps up, seeking a chance to avenge Elia by killing the Mountain who raped and killed her during the rebellion. Daenerys has sex with Dario before sending him off on a mission to deal with the resurgent slavers at Young Kai. Melisandre and Khaleesi prepare for their departure from Dragonstone, intending to take Shireen as well. Alistair Thorne rejects Jon's offer to seal the tunnel. Bran and Podrick meet in Hot Pie and learn of Arya's adventures. They then resolve to travel to the Vale, deducing she would go there in search of living relatives. In the Vale, Lisa is enraged when she witnesses Littlefinger kissing Sansa. Later, she threatens to push Sansa through the moon door, but Littlefinger intervenes and pushes Lisa to her death. Episode 8, The Mountain and the Viper. The Wildlings attack Molestown. Gilly is discovered by Ygritte, who spares her. Ramsay forces Theon to get the Ironborn to surrender Kaelin. The Ironborn surrender in hopes of returning home, but are flayed and slaughtered by Ramsay. As a reward for securing both Kaelin, Bruce legitimizes Ramsay as a Bolton. Vale, Sansa reveals to a council investigating Lisa's death her true identity, and convinces the council of Littlefinger's innocence. While Littlefinger starts grooming Robin Arryn, Lisa's son, as the Lord of the Vale, the Hound and Arya arrive and are informed of Lisa's death. In King's Landing, the trial by combat starts. Oberyn gains the upper hand. By his desire to force the Mountain to confess his crimes, give the latter the chance to grab the former. He kills Oberyn by crushing his skull while confessing to the rape and murder of Elia. Tywin sentences Tyrion to death. In Essos, Barristan Selmy receives a letter intended for Jorah that pardons him as a reward for spying on Daenerys, who exiles him from Meereen as a result. Episode 9, The Watchers on the Wall. The Night's Watch prepares for the Wildling invasion. Gilly and her son arrive at Castle Black, where Sam hides in an underground room. The Wildlings attack from both sides. Tormund's army gets through the south and engages the Night's Watch. One giant manages to break through the tunnel leading into Castle Black, but is killed by Gren and 5 others at the cost of their own lives. Alistair Thorne goes to fight in the southern part, leaving Janos Slynt in charge. However, Slynt proves to be incompetent and is tricked into going down the main level, effectively leaving Jon in charge. After watching Jon kill Styr, Ygritte prepares to kill him, but is shot by Ollie. Jon holds her in his arms as she dies. With the help of Jon's direwolf, Ghost, the Night's Watch secured the ground level of Castle Black, leading to Tormund's arrest. The wall climbers are obliterated by a massive scythe launched by the Watch. The Wildlings retreat, but not for long, Jon predicts. Seeing no other choice, Jon goes beyond the wall to find and kill Mance Rayder. Episode 10, The Children. Jon's negotiation with Mance Rayder is interrupted when Stannis and his army overrun the Wildling camp, taking Mance as prisoner on the former's suggestion. Bran's party comes upon the large heart tree from his visions. It is attacked by a skeletal beast who killed Jojen. The others are saved by a child who takes them to the three-eyed raven, revealed to be an old man. In the Vale, Brienne and Podrick come across Arya and the Hound, whom Brienne engages and critically wounds. He begs Arya to kill him, but she refuses and leaves with Brienne, searching for her. She enters a ship headed to Braavos, intending to reunite with Jaqen Hikbar. Meanwhile, in King's Landing, Cersei orders Qyburn to do anything to save the mountain, who is poisoned by Oberyn's blade. She gets involved with Jaime, who releases Tyrion. Tyrion later finds Shae in Tywin's bed and strangles her to death. He then confronts Tywin in the privy and kills him, escaping the city with Varys. Therefore, what a humiliating experience to kill one's own father on the shitter. In Marine, Daenerys is visited by a citizen who brings the charred remains of his daughter, who was burned by Drogon. After a precaution, Daenerys changed her to two other dragons in the catacombs. Game of Thrones original season by HBO. Season 5. Episode 1. The Wars to Come.
In a flashback, a witch tells a teenage Cersei that someone younger and more beautiful than herself will one day steal her accomplishments. In the present, Tywin is buried and Lancel returns, now a devoutly religious man and a member of the Sparrow. In Pentos, a despondent Tyrion agrees to accompany Varys to Meereen to support Daenerys' claim on the Iron Throne. In Meereen, the insurgent Sons of the Harpy murder an Unsullied, forcing Daenerys to launch more restrictive measures without respecting the old traditions. Missandei gets suspicious when she realizes that the Unsullied visit brothels. Daenerys, locked away dragons, attack her when she checks on them. In the Vale, Baelish puts Robin in the care of House Royce and leaves with Sansa. At the Wall, Stannis seeks to enlist the wildlings in his war against Bruce. Jon Snow is unable to convince Rhaegar to accept Stannis' authority. The latter has Mance burned alive, but Jon Snow mercifully shoots him with an arrow to kill him quickly. Episode 2: The House of Black and White. Arya arrives in Braavos and is accepted into the House of Black and White by Hagar, who calls himself and his colleagues no one. Jaime tells Cersei he is going to Dorne to sneak out Marcella, who is promised to Prince Doran's son, and recruits Bronn to assist him. Podrick recognizes Baelish and Sansa in a tavern. Brienne offers Sansa her protection, but is rebuffed. Baelish demands her to stay with them, but she refuses and escapes with Podrick. However, she decides to follow Sansa secretly. Stannis offers Snow legitimacy and lordship of Winterfell if he leaves the Night's Watch to help him, but Snow declines. Tarly nominates him as a candidate for Lord Commander, and he is elected by the casting vote of Aemon. Daenerys faces a riot after she decides to execute a former slave who murdered a captured member of the Sons of Harpy before he could be tried. Drogon reappears to her, but leaves again. Episode 3: High Sparrow. Margie, newly wed to Tom, manipulates him into planning to send Cersei to Casterly Rock. Baelish conducts Sansa to Winterfell to cement an alliance with Bruce through her marriage to Ramsay behind the Lannisters' back. Brienne decides to train Podrick to adapt in the House of Black and White. Arya throws all her personal effects into the river, except for Needle, which she hides in a pile of rocks. At Castle Black, Snow names Thorne First Ranger, but Slynt refuses to follow Snow's orders that he leave to rebuild the Grey Guard ruin. Snow executes Slynt himself. Lancel finds the High Septon in a compromising situation in a brothel, punishing him by forcing him to walk the streets completely nude. The High Septon complains to Cersei, who imprisons him instead. She meets the High Sparrow, proving the Sparrow's actions. Tyrion and Varys arrive in Volantis and visit a brothel where the former is abducted by Mormont, intending to take him to the Queen. Episode 4: Sons of the Harpy. Cersei provides weapons for the Sparrows, who arrest Loras. Marjorie is enraged, but Tommen proves too weak to arrange his release. Melisandre tries to seduce Snow in an attempt to convince him to go to Winterfell with Stannis. In Winterfell, Baelish prepares to return to King's Landing. Before leaving, he tries to dispel Sansa's misgivings towards Ramsay
telling her that even if Stannis does not defeat the Boltons and rescue her, she can easily manipulate Ramsay. Bronn and Jaime land secretly in Dorne. They encounter all and kill 4 horsemen. The Sand Snakes learn from a sea captain that Jaime has come to Dorne for Priscilla. Ilaria convinces the Sand Snakes to plan to avenge the death of Oberyn by abducting Marcilla before Jaime can intervene. Mormont plans to redeem himself with Daenerys by giving Tyrion to her as a prisoner. Marine, Lorak makes another appeal to her to reopen the fighting pits. The Sons of the Harpy ambush an unsullied patrol inside the Citadel. Grey Worm is critically wounded and Selmy is killed. Episode 5. Kill the Boy. Brienne and Podrick arrive at an inn near Winterfell and send a message to Sansa, stating that they will help her if she needs it. Sansa finds out about Theon's presence. Ramsay forces him to apologize to her for his actions. At the Wall, Tormund accepts an alliance with the Night's Watch that will allow the wildlings to settle south of the Wall. Jon Snow agrees to accompany him to meet the wildlings in Hardhome. Stannis' army leaves for Winterfell, taking Selyse and Shireen with them. In Marine, Grey Worm recuperates, developing a romantic relationship with Missandei. Daenerys feeds a Meereenese nobleman 2 dragons, Viserion and Rhaegal, and imprisons the others. She later agrees to reopen the fighting pits and decides to marry Lorak to facilitate peace. At sea, Tyrion and Mormont sail through Valyria, seeing Drogon flying by, and are attacked by a group of stone. They manage to escape, but Mormont is infected with grayscale. Episode 6. Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. Hagar takes Arya to a chamber with the faces of all the people that have died in the House of Black and White. Jaime and Bronn reach the Water Gardens, where they find Marcilla and are attacked by the Sand Snakes. The fight is broken up by Dornish guards who arrest everyone. Mormont and Tyrion run into slavers, who Tyrion manages to convince to take them to the fighting pits of Marine. Baelish informs Cersei of Roost's plan to marry Sansa to Ramsay and convinces her to allow him to lead the Knights of the Vale to Winterfell to defeat the winning party of the conflict between Roose and Stannis, being named Warden of the North in return. Olenna arrives in King's Landing and warns Cersei that the imprisonment of Loras has put their alliance in peril. At Loras's inquest, Loras and Marjorie both deny his homosexuality. The male prostitute, Oliver, contradicts their testimony, and she is arrested for lying to the gods. In Winterfell, Sansa is married to Ramsay, who rapes her in front of a horrified Theon. Episode 7. The Gift. Snow leaves for Hardhome with Tormund and some rangers. Aemon dies shortly after. Gilly is attacked by 2 watchmen. Tarly intervenes and is overpowered until Ghost arrives and forces the duo to leave. Tarly and Gilly consummate their romantic relationship. Sansa asks Theon to help her escape Winterfell, but he instead informs Ramsay, who plays the woman working for Brienne. At Stannis' army camp, Melisandre suggests sacrificing Shireen, which he refuses. Mormont and Tyrion are sold to slaver Quaggads. The 2 are brought to a local fighting pit that Daenerys and her consort happen to be visiting in preparation for the coming games at Daznak's pit. Mormont defeats the other slaves and reveals his identity to her, and that he brought Tyrion as a gift for her. In Dorne, Myrcella tells Jaime that she wants to marry Trystane, Doran's son. Olenna's demand for Loras and Marjorie's release is declined by the High Sparrow. Later, the High Sparrow arrests Cersei due to her former incestuous relationship with Lancel. Episode 8, Hardhome. Cersei learns that her uncle, Kevin, is appointed as the Hand. She is left thirsty in order to force her to confess, which she does not. Arya assumes the identity of Lena, an oyster merchant. Hagar tasks her to study a man who sells marine insurance but has defrauded benefactors. She is to learn everything about the insurer and then poison him. Theon tells Sansa that he faked the deaths of Brandon and Rickon. Ramsay suggests to Roose that they move on Stannis and ask for 20 skilled men. In Marine, Tyrion convinces Daenerys to spare Mormont's life, and she exiles him again. Mormont goes back to Yezin and asks permission to fight in the pits. Daenerys accepts Tyrion into her council. Arriving in Hardhome, Snow and Tormund convince about 5,000 wildlings to join them before Hardhome is attacked by an army of whites. Snow kills a White Walker with his Valyrian steel sword. As he, Tormund, and the other survivors sail away, they witness the Night Kings reanimating the deceased wildlings as whites. Episode 9, A Dance of Dragons. During a snowstorm, Stannis' camp is sabotaged when Ramsay's party destroys the camp's siege equipment and food stores, while inflicting heavy losses on the army's forces. Sending Davos to the wall to ask for supplies, Stannis reluctantly allows Melisandre to sacrifice Shireen, burning her alive at the stake, despite her and Selyse's objections. Snow and the others return to the wall, allowing the wildlings to pass south. In Dorne, Doran permits Jaime and Bronn to return to King's Landing with Myrcella, provided Trystane accompany them and serve on the small council in Oberyn's stead. The former also pardoned Sand and her daughters. In Braavos, Arya spots Cran accompanying Mace, Marjorie's father, and the Master of Coin. In Marine, the fights at Daznak's pit begin, and Daenerys is stunned to see Mormont amongst the combatants. His triumph is interrupted by a fierce attack by the sons of the Harpy, who quickly surround Daenerys and her supporters, including Mormont. Just as all hope seems lost, Drogon arrives, and she mounts it and flies away from the pit, her followers watching in awe. Episode 10, Mother's Mercy. Shireen's sacrifice leads to Selyse hanging herself and half of Stannis' forces deserting him. After Melisandre flees to Castle Black, Stannis is defeated by the Boltons and consequently killed by Brienne. Sansa attempts to escape, but is confronted by Myranda, whom Theon kills, and the duo escape Winterfell together. Cersei confesses her former relationship with Lancel, and is forced to face atonement by walking the streets fully naked. Shame. 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 Upon reaching the Red Keep, Qyburn introduces a new member of the King's Guard with complete loyalty. Jaime, Myrcella, Bronn, and Trystane sail from Dorne. Myrcella dies of poison by sand on the ship. Arya infiltrates a brothel and kills Tram. She is blinded for violating the terms of the Faceless Men. Varys arrives in Marine to rule the city with Tyrion, Grey Worm, and Missandei, while Naharis and Mormont leave to search for Daenerys, who, far away, is found by a large group of Dothraki. Tarly, Gilly, and her child leave for Old Town for the former to become a maester. Snow is stabbed several times by mutineers, including Thorne and Ollie. From HBO Review of Series Review of Sesons. Episode 1: The Red Woman. Jon Snow's corpse is found by Sir Davos and a few other loyalists. Davos and the others take him inside and lock themselves behind the door with him, while Ed goes to get help. Thorne assumes command of the watch. At Winterfell, Ramsay mourns for Mary Amber, while Sansa and Theon escape through the woods. Ramsay's men catch up with them and are about to take them captive when Bran and Pod arrive, killing the men, and the former is accepted into Sansa's service. In King's Landing, Cersei receives Jaime, who arrives with Myserilla's body. Jaime promises Cersei they will take their revenge. Obera and Nymeria murder Christine on his way home from King's Landing, while in Sunspear, Duran and Ariel Huta are killed by Hilaria and Tyene after the former learns of Myrcilla's death. In Marine, Tyrion and Varys find all the ships burning in the harbor. Jorah and Daario continue to track Daenerys, who is taken by the Dothraki to Khal Morrow. In Bravos, Arya lives on the streets as a beggar, where she is beaten by the weight. In her chamber, Melisandre removes her bejeweled necklace as she reveals her true appearance as an old crone. Episode 2: Home. Brandon visits Winterfell in a vision of the past and sees Eddard, Benjen, and their sister Lyanna, as well as a young Hodor, and a rising Tormund, and a group of wildlings imprisoning Thorne and the other mutineers. Tommen asks Cersei to teach him to be strong. Tyrion learns that Astapor and young Kai have reverted to slavery and releases Rhaegal and Viserion from their chains. In Bravos, Arya is attacked by the wave before Hagar appears and recruits her again. Walda, Bruce's wife, gives birth to a boy, prompting Ramsay to murder Bruce, her, and the baby. Brienne reveals to Sansa that Arya is still alive. Sansa permits Theon's return to the Iron Islands, where his uncle Euron reappears and murders King Balon. Davos persuades Melisandre to attempt to resurrect Jon. First, her attempts seem to fail. However, once everyone leaves the room, he awakens. Episode 3. Oathbreaker. On a boat, on their way to Old Town, Tarly reveals his intent to leave Gilly and her baby with the former's family at Horn Hill, while he trains to be a maester. In a vision of the past, Brandon sees Eddard and Howland, Mira's father, defeat a group of Kingsguard loyal to the Targaryens at the Tower of Joy and Dorne. Varys discovers that the masters of Astapor, Yunkai, and Volantis have been financing the Sons of the Harpy. In King's Landing, Tommen converses with the High Sparrow, while Jaime and Cersei interrupt a small council meeting, only to be shunned by Kevan and the Tyrells. Cersei's bodyguard is revealed to be Gregor. Arya trains rigorously with the Waif, and her sight is returned to her once she has accepted herself as no one. In Winterfell, Lord Umber asks Ramsay to help in protecting the North from the wildlings, bringing Rickon and Asha as a gift, along with the head of Shaggy Dog, Rickon's direwolf. Jon executes Thorne, Ollie, and the other officers involved in his assassination. He renounces his oath and puts Tolek in charge of the Night's Watch. Episode 4. Book of the Stranger. Sansa party arrives at Castle Black as she is reunited with Jon. In Meereen, Tyrion meets with the slave masters of Slaver's Bay to offer peace if they will end slavery within a period of 7 years, an action that angers the former slavers. Baelish returns to the Vale to mobilize their soldiers against Ramsay. Naharis learns about Mormont's grayscale as they arrive in Vaes Dothrak. King's Landing, Marjorie is permitted to visit Loras, while Cersei, Jaime, Kevan, and Olenna put aside their differences and plan a defeat of the Sparrows. Theon arrives at Pike and explains to Yara that he will support her claim at the Kingsman. In Winterfell, Asha attempts to assassinate Ramsay, but is killed by him. Ramsay sends a letter to Jon, threatening to harm Rickon if Sansa is not returned. She convinces Jon to march south in order to take back Winterfell. Daenerys meets with the cows in the temple of Dosh, Khaleesi. After they refuse to serve her, she burns them and Moreau to death. As she emerges unhurt, the Dothraki kneel to her while she is fully nude. Episode 5. The Door. Sansa meets Baelish, who offers support of the Vale and tells her that Brynden Tully, her great uncle, is gathering an army in Riverrun. She initially refuses his help. Jon and Sansa leave Castle Black to gather support from the other northern houses, with her sending Brienne to Brynden. In Bravos, Arya is given a second chance to prove her loyalty by killing an actress. Young Wall. Brandon learns that the White Walkers were created by the children of the forest to protect themselves from the First Men. The Iron Island, Euron wins the King's despite confessing to killing Balon, causing Yara and Theon to flee. In Essos, Daenerys learns about Mormont's grayscale, ordering him to find a cure and return. In Meereen, a red priestess named Kinvara meets Tyrion and Varys and promises to support Daenerys. Brandon's unaccompanied vision causes him to be touched by the Night King, making the cave vulnerable. The Night King, along with White Walkers and hordes of whites, attack the cave, killing the three-eyed raven, several children, Summer, and Hodor, whose younger self is shown to have been rendered mentally disabled by Brandon's interference. Episode 6, Blood of My Blood. Mira escapes into the forest with Bran, who is still immersed in his visions. He comes to just as the whites have tracked them down, but are quickly saved by a mysterious man. Samuel and Gilly reach the Tarly family estate, Barn Hill. After Sam's father, Rendell, insults her for being a wildling, Sam decides to take her with him to the Citadel, also stealing House Tarly's ancestral Valyrian steel sword, Heartsbane. Although people may have thought at the time that the actress to be assassinated by Arya was the one who is so outspoken, free willing to address herself bearing her breasts, but this is not Arya's target. In fact, Arya warns the actress about her mission to assassinate her, recovering the needle. Hagar approves of the waif's request to kill Arya. Jaime attempts to rescue Marjorie from the Faith Millen, only to find she has repented and Tommen has forged an alliance with the Faith. He removes Jaime from the King's Guard and orders him to help Walder Frey, who is holding Edmure Tully hostage, and to retake Riverrun from Brynden. Bran and Mira learn that the man who saved them is Benjen, who explains that he was turned by the White Walkers, but then later unturned by the children using dragonglass. Daenerys mounts Drogon and declares to the Dothraki they will sail across the narrow sea to conquer Westeros. Episode 7, The Broken Man. Marjorie convinces Olenna to return to Highgarden after the High Sparrow says that he will pursue Olenna following her attempt to engage the Faith. Jon, Sansa, and Davos recruit the wildlings and House Mormont to their cause, but remain outnumbered by the Boltons. In desperation, Sansa writes a letter begging for aid. Jaime arrives in Riverrun with Bronn, assuming control of the siege. The former goes to parley with Brynden, ultimately being unsuccessful. Theon and Yara spend their last night in Volantis, deciding to sail to Meereen to ally with Daenerys. In Braavos, Arya prepares to return to Westeros, but is attacked by the Waif. Arya is badly wounded, but escapes. Sandor is revealed to be alive, having been saved by a Septon and his followers. When men from the Brotherhood threaten and eventually slaughter the group, Sandor decides to get revenge. Episode 8, No One. Tommen abolishes trial by combat, much to the dismay of Cersei, who planned to win using Gregor. Brienne arrives in Riverrun and attempts to persuade Brynden to surrender without success. After Jaime threatens to kill Edmure's young son, he enters the castle and orders the Tully forces to stand down. Brynden is killed fighting the Lannisters. Bran and Podrick escape. Varys departs Meereen on an unknown mission. Meereen comes under naval assault of the slaving cities, but Daenerys returns. Sandor kills the outlaws who sack his village and encounters Dondarrion and Toros, who explain that the outlaws were renegades. They try to convince Sandor to join the Brotherhood. Arya is taken in by the actress, who heals her wounds. In the morning, away for rides, kills the actress, and chases Arya through the streets of Braavos. Arya leads the way into the catacombs and kills her. She returns the Way's space to the house and declares that she is Arya Stark of Winterfell, and she is going home. Episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. Daenerys meets with the slave masters to negotiate terms of surrender, but they refuse. Riding Drogon and Rhaegal Syrian assist, Daenerys attacks and burns the slavers' fleet. Grey Worm kills 2 of the masters, leaving 1 to tell of what he had witnessed. After the battle, Theon and Yara meet with Daenerys and Tyrion and agree to an alliance. In Winterfell, the Stark and both armies meet on the field. Ramsay feigns setting Rickon free, but kills him with a long-distance arrow before Jon can save him. In the battle, the Stark forces are pinned by old soldiers, but are rescued by the Knights of the Vale. Ramsay flees inside Winterfell, but the wild-winged giant, One, having taken numerous arrows to his body, manages to break the gate down before succumbing to his wounds. Jon brutally beats Ramsay and takes him prisoner. Sansa later visits Ramsay's cell in the kennels and watches as his starving hounds devour him. Episode 10, The Winds of Winter. Before her trial, Cersei destroys the Scepter Veiler by wildfire, killing the High Sparrow, Marjorie, Mace, and Loras Tyrell, Lancel, Kevin Lannister, along with hundreds of King's Landing nobles and the Faith Militant, while Qyburn has Pycelle killed. Tommen commits suicide. In Dorne, Varys meets with Olenna and Alaria, seeking to form an alliance between Daenerys and their houses against the Lannisters. Davos confronts Melisandre over the death of Shireen. Jon banishes her from Winterfell. The Wildlings, the Knights of the Vale, and the surviving houses of the North pledge love to Jon as the new king of the North. Sansa stops Baelish from getting intimate with her. Arya kills Walder Frey and his sons. Tarly and Gilly reach the Citadel in Old Town. Benjen tells Brandon and Mira to pass the wall without him. Brandon uses his powers and learns that Jon is actually the son of Lyanna, being adopted by Eddard after she died during Robert's rebellion. Jaime returns to King's Landing to find the Qyburn crowning Cersei, the new monarch of the Seven Kingdoms. Daenerys leaves Naharis and the second sons to rule Meereen before she sets sail to Westeros with her other companions, armies, and dragons.
As the second part of Daenerys' life story concluded, the story is then noticing that it's almost getting to the point where it's almost time to call it a day, decides to get William's opinion.
So that concludes the second part to Daenerys' life before she was risen from the dead.
Well, that's very interesting. I've learned so much already. So now she's on her way to Westeros to take back the House of Targaryen at Dragonstone.
Yes, and this is where the Great White Walker War will begin.
I see. Well, you've done very well, William. However, I think soon we will have to call it a day. Yes, I think there's something we need to do. Daenerys looks over towards Sandy, who then steps up to her and kind of whispers in her ear, something that I probably, well, maybe I don't need to know, I guess. It's okay, William. There's something special we have planned. Me and Miss Sandy will go ahead and take care of it. Perhaps you might take interest in some other people, much like myself, who, for some strange reason, was decided not to be entered into the history books. The historian will explain this to you after you've had a break outdoors, and then when you're done, then you can meet me and Miss Sandy into the dining hall. All right then. So William stands up and has William and Daenerys look at each other. Um, I know you're probably gonna I'm probably gonna be in trouble for this, but it's a human emotion. And before Daenerys can say anything, William gives her a nice big hug. Of course, she's not sure what to think about this because again, this is in front of people. Masani just kind of looks at William. Well, this Daenerys then just kind of smiles. I will see you later, William. Sandy doesn't say a word, just kind of looks at William with a smile. Also follows Daenerys out of the genealogical hall records.
Well, perhaps a Grey would do you good. Might do me good as well.
All right then. So then William heads out of the library hall of genealogical records, past the one staircase to another library, and onto the palace patio to take a short break.